Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Societal Narcissism. This video is sponsored by contribution from Anonymous. Before I get to Anonymous video, please go to the description box, click on the Rumble link. I ask everybody to watch over there, as I'm still monetized and it'll help out with the channel. So Anonymous has sent in a video for me to review. It's about a half hour. I got it up to 125. Who's behind the race mixing agenda in advertising? I don't know, but I am willing to venture a guess. So let's just get into it.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking finger and say that's the bad guy. Last time you're going to see a bad guy like this again.
Mom is black and my dad is white, so I've always kind of had issues with my identity. I don't really look like anybody, and a lot of people say that's a good thing, but I don't see it as that. I've had people like grab my hair and like touch my hair on the street before and like, oh, this is different. And all my friends say like, oh, that's really cool. Like, you're so lucky that that happens to you, that people see something different about you, but I kind of look at it negatively sometimes. There's like a societal precedent that says like everyone's a special snowflake and we should all celebrate our uniqueness and our differences, but there are times when I don't celebrate my differences and I would just kind of like to be the same.
This is a problem that mixed race kids have. They don't fit in anywhere. You know, and they get the most brutality as they get older from the black side, from the ethnic side, for having any white in them whatsoever.
As everyone else. Because then you can like look at another person and be like, oh, I kind of look like that person. Like, I can do that hairstyle, or I can wear that outfit, or I can like look at this certain way. If you look different from everybody else, there's no like base point to compare yourself to, I guess. Is that?
This is going to be a fantastic session. We alluded to it earlier. It's all about diversity and whether we as an industry are fully embracing it. What can we do to make it better? Who is getting it right? Who is doing the right things? What difference does it make? Why has it become such a big issue?
Who decides what's right and what's the right things? Who made that decision? Was there a vote? Was there a consensus? No, just a bunch of elites who decide, with some power and money, who get to decide for everyone else.
We will be talking about, for example, LGBT, multiculturalism, age, all sorts of other things that might cross our paths, which is fantastic. So we're going to have a lively discussion about diversity, brands, and marketing. Why in the main is diversity,
brands, and marketing. What would this woman know about brands and marketing? Look at her. Look at her. What would she know how to sell to anybody on brands and marketing?
Our industry still so male, pale, and stale?
Male, pale, and stale. Who would have built it if it wasn't for male, pale, male, white men, white men? Who would have built all this? Where would society be right now without white men? Where? Who would have built it? Who would have designed it? Who would have engineered it? Who?
My take on it is the resistance to change. Every industry runs in momentum, and when you actually are asking any company, any culture to actually change something so fundamental as what we're talking about, it takes a lot of time, effort, and commitment. Part of the problem is what you just described, that we've been spending 12 years just doing what we're doing here. No panels. Let's talk about diversity. Let's talk about the need to make it a business case and all that. I think we're late. We're very late. We are spending way too much time talking about the issue and not enough time actually acting upon the issue with quantitative objectives, with measurements, and holding people accountable for it with consequences if they don't achieve those targets.
What they're talking about is hiring quotas. They're talking about hiring quotas, i.e. just refusing to hire white men. That's all this is about. It's about not hiring white men.
When we talk about diversity, it's good for business. It's not just a nice to have. It is a business imperative.
How is it good for business? Businesses are failing everywhere. How has this been good for business?
When you put a disparate group of thinkers together, your business will flourish. Yeah.
No. Gavin McInnes made made this great point because, after he got bought out of Vice, he started another multi-million-dollar advertising company that he made a fortune off of. And he said the problem was the women you would deal with, they didn't want solutions. They just wanted to talk and talk and talk. And there was just more conversation. We need more opinion and more opinion and more opinion without any type of consensus being reached. And then they'd always want to choose the most ridiculous far outlier they possibly could, pointing to some exception to the rule and trying to make that the rule.
And we must always guard against groupthink. And in a world where we want more points of view, we want different ideas, different points of view, we need to break through for our clients. Why are we not tapping into this far more diverse population than we are traditionally tapping into?
I think the biggest change is measurement for accountability. That you can't treasure what you can't measure. And I think we're starting to really create accountability for change, from accountability.
They don't call this Jewish daycare for nothing. That's exactly what this is called. Jobs that are just daycare for women. Just gives them something to do where they can prattle on and drone on and drag down Western culture and drag down men.
And people's bonuses to doing the right thing, to accountability in media, like I talked about the gem scores that we're creating, to what NBC, to what Channel 4 is really starting to do, really create metrics that we can all move towards.
Diversity is the new norm in Super Bowl advertising. It's been like that for 30 years. What are you talking about? They're trying to act like this is like something new. No, people are just sick of it now. That's the difference.
And we will see the cream rise to the top, and then the others that are resisting, there'll be FOMO factor because they're gonna feel like they're definitely missing out on moving ahead. And unfortunately, that might be what it takes.
Missing out on moving ahead. You either go along with this, or you're not gonna have a job. And these women, these HR types, who have taken over these corporations, taken over these businesses, taken over these groups. This is what you get. Babysitting a bunch of women playing house.
To move them, and one day they're going to look back and say, wow, I'm proud of myself, look how far I've come.
Yeah, and we see some agencies, we certainly are at Omnicom Media Group really advancing the agenda, but the other thing I've noticed that clients are starting to have this conversation a lot more, and when clients start saying, hang on, what are your numbers? Why am I not seeing any white women in this, any women in this room?
Why would clients who are there buying, purchasing, care who's making the money? What clients? What's the gender of the clients asking? This is how it all happens. Everybody gets infected with this. And you let these liberal white women, it's all white women here. Notice it's all white women complaining about diversity. It's all white women.
Why am I only seeing white people in this room? Then we've got to really set up a notice. And when that goes into...
What color are you? You're white. You're just a female. They think just being female makes it good enough. And what they're finding out now, it doesn't.
To RFIs, you've got to do something about it.
The mass marketing of interracial relationships, particularly white women with black men, has become so ubiquitous and so militant that even the least observant members of our culture have begun to notice. Walking through a mall recently, I noticed 3 large marketing images of couples in 3 different stores. 2 of the 3 were interracial couples, depicting a white woman and, of course, a black man. The 3rd couple was white. And I think what struck me the most about that was the city I was shopping in was about 97% white. Blacks are less than 2% of the population there. So I wondered to myself if the purpose of diverse advertising was to sell more products, or really to indoctrinate, to condition, and to signal how progressive they are. Based on small glimpses of culture, one might assume half or more of all relationships involve some sort of race mixing. If a person who had no information about the United States, Europe, Canada, or Australia were to see our television, magazine, billboard, and storefront advertisements, he might assume that there were virtually no normal white men anywhere to be found. The combination of white women with black men is hands down the most common mixed-race couple depicted in advertising, and for that reason, that combination will be the focus of this video. So I thought about the probability that 2 of the 3 advertisement couples I saw in the mall that afternoon were there by mere coincidence. Between men and women, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, and other, there are 25 possible combinations of couples, 20 of which are interracial. Here are the possible interracial combinations. If the diversity in advertising was truly about appealing to the greatest number of customers or potential customers, showing white women with black men at such a high level seems to be a very odd strategy, doesn't it? I mean, to focus so much on one combination while ignoring so many others, it would seem that maybe there's some other goal, some other maybe agenda, besides just selling products. So we looked at the data. There's a notable and interesting body of research on interracial relationships and marriages. It's not exhaustive by any means, but we can synthesize the available data to form an accurate view of such relationships. In 2012, Pew Research conducted a large study of interracial marriage that provides a considerable amount of data. Since 1980, the total percent of interracial marriages has risen from 3.2% to 8.4%. Of new marriages, the rates rose from 6.7% to 15.1%. In 2010, the most common intermarriage was white and Hispanic at 43.3%.
That's me, and that's me. So before anybody starts making accusations towards me, remember, I'm in an interracial marriage.
Mixed at 30.4%, white Asian at 14.4%, and white black, the least common, at 11.9%. Now, not all interracial relationships, of course, are marriages, but we can use the marriage data to reasonably extrapolate the information to the wider society and relationships. As of 2010, whites, on average, were the least likely to marry outside of their race. Less than 10% of whites intermarry, while Hispanics, blacks, and Asians are all 2 to 3 times more likely to intermarry. In terms of combined median incomes of interracial marriages, black husbands with white wives earned the lowest amount of any other combination. The black husband and white wife combination were also the least educated. Of the interracial combinations, marriages between whites and blacks were found to be the least stable and the most likely to result in divorce. The divorce rate is higher in all interracial marriages for white women relative to a marriage between 2 white people. A study of over 2 million online dating interactions revealed distinct racial preferences between groups. White women responded most frequently to white men, and least frequently to black men. In light of this data, it seems all the more bizarre that the combination of white woman and black man is seen so frequently in advertising. When we look at the CDC's STD rates, the results speak for themselves. Blacks lead in cases of chlamydia. Blacks lead in cases of gonorrhea. Blacks lead in cases of syphilis. Blacks lead in cases of herpes. Blacks lead in cases of HIV. A 2015 study examined the outcomes of women that have children with black men, and the results were pretty staggering. Currently, 70% of black children are born out of wedlock. However, when the mother is white and the father is black, the rate jumps to 97%. 98% of white mothers studied reported that the father does not support their children financially. 97% report the father is not in the child's life. And 97% of the women have used welfare to help support themselves and their children. Only 10% of women that have children with black men out of wedlock end up marrying. The vast majority of white women that have children with black men live far below the poverty line. A 2013 study of intimate partner violence in relationships surveyed nearly 10,000 people. The authors hypothesized that interracial couples would experience higher levels of violence compared to intraracial couples. They found that compared to white relationships, both black couples and interracial couples experience statistically significant higher levels of relationship violence. Intimate partner violence is classified as threats, physical or emotional violence between 2 people in a committed relationship. The National Center for Injury Prevention and Control estimates that relationship violence costs around $4.1 billion a year in medical and mental health care costs. Among whites in 1958, only 4% approved interracial marriages between whites and blacks. In 2007, 75% of whites reported they approve of such unions. Historically and contemporarily, blacks and Hispanics have always held a higher approval rating of interracial marriages. From a 2011 Pew Research study, 40% of whites, 51% of blacks, and 48% of Hispanics reported that more people of different races marrying is a change for the better. 12% of whites, 8% of blacks, and 9% of Hispanics say it's for the worse. And the remaining of those surveys said there is no difference at all. The younger those surveyed, the more likely they were to say the increase of interracial marriage is for the better. Liberals were more likely than conservatives to say interracial marriages is for the better, and college graduates were also more likely to support the notion. And as a side note, many would argue with the state of our modern education system that, quote, more educated means more indoctrinated today, unfortunately.
In my opinion, I was raised in a very racist and homophobic environment. I was forbidden from dating a black man, and if I ever brought one home, I was threatened with being cut off from the family completely. Like, me doing that would reverse all of the hard work they put in generations over generations to try to make their family look white.
Or the statistics are just the statistics. I mean, the statistics are what they are.
And I was a racist kid. Not in a hate sort of way, but in a being kind of scared and not wanting to hang out with people that weren't white. But once I matured and started making judgments for myself, I realized how terrible and closed-minded that was. I detest racists and just hate in general. But
you know how she knows she's lying? Because when she makes these declarative statements, she keeps looking down and closing her eyes, because that's a shame. That's a shame response. She knows what she's saying is complete bullshit, but she has some kind of issue with her father or her family that this is the way she's going to go, even though she knows what she's saying is completely false.
But apparently my instinct doesn't agree, and this is what messed me up so
My
bad.
instinct,
When I was a
you need what I know to be true.
freshman in college, I had to take a hidden bias test for a sociology class. The results made me break down pretty bad. It came out saying I was racist against black people and prejudiced against homosexuals. I felt betrayed by my own emotions, my own thoughts. It's just something that...
A test told you that. Here's the thing. That test was going to tell you that no matter what you put, because you're white. That's how the indoctrination works. You already failed that test before you took it.
It's there because of my upbringing, and that disgusted me. But I'm so glad it was brought to my attention, and therefore I could, keep it in check. Are you an unintentional racist? Do you even know if you're racist or not, or if you know, if you don't know?
I take no issue with race mixing at all. As far as I'm concerned, love is love. As long as you are of consenting age and you both consent to it, it's none of my fucking business, really.
Because my main reason why I don't give a fuck if you race mix, it's none of my business who you sleep with, and it's none of my business who you have a child with. If I choose to have a child with a white guy or a black guy or an Asian guy, it's no one else's business except mine and the guy I'm having a child with, and potentially my family's, and that's it.
But it's important to remember one thing. You're wrong.
In 2010, Pew Research found that 69% of people surveyed said that single women having children is a bad thing. 43% said unmarried couples raising children is a bad thing. Yet only 14% said interracial marriage is a bad thing. Now think about that. There's something seriously ironic about being in favor of interracial relationships, while at the same time abhorring the logical outcomes of those relationships. Both Pew Research and Gallup's latest findings report that the majority of U.S. citizens approve of interracial marriage and relationships. Although these are generally self-reporting surveys and anonymous, a study of brain scans suggests that there is a social desirability bias coming into play. Social desirability bias is the tendency of survey and study participants to reply to socially contentious questions in a way that is socially and publicly acceptable even when the surveys are anonymous. A 2017 study in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology looked at insula activity in the brain when participants viewed images of interracial couples compared to same-race couples. Insula activation is responsible for a variety of emotions. Evidence shows that insula activity is present when a person experiences disgust and is thought to be a reliable marker of both disgust and aversion. The study found statistical significance between insula activation of participants looking at same-race couples compared to interracial couples. Despite a minority of participants explicitly stating they disagree with interracial dating and marriage, the EEGs told a different story. This study also used an implicit association task to measure response times of participants in categorizing interracial couples and same-race couples with either a silhouette of a human or a silhouette of an animal. Participants were placed into two conditions, one primed with disgusting images, the other with positive images. Researchers found that all participants showed an implicit bias toward matching interracial couples with animals, and the condition primed to be disgusted was even faster, showing a greater implicit bias against interracial couples. There was both a neural reaction of disgust and an implicit reaction of disgust to interracial couples. The authors write in an abstract of this paper that these findings are particularly concerning, given evidence of antisocial reactions like aggression, perpetration of violence to dehumanize targets. In other words, they were saying that the natural reactions of people were problematic. So what's the psychology behind it? We know that whites are the least likely to marry outside of their race. We know that when white women marry outside of their race, they are more likely to be abused, to become single mothers, live in poverty, and that whites dating outside of their race exposes us to a higher chance of contracting a sexually transmitted disease. We know that despite the feigned acceptance, white people show a legitimate disgust response to interracial relationships. We also know that despite the barrage of diversity in films, television, and in advertisements, same-race couples are still the most common, by far. So what's the purpose of the blatant propaganda? David Vinjamori for Forbes writes, "What's the advantage of a wider variety of gender, ethnicity, and sexual presence represented in media and advertising? Simply put, we're more likely to identify with someone that looks like us." Michelle Castillo for CNBC suggests that Americans want even more diversity in ads, where she cites a survey of 2,000 people where 66% report diversity in advertising is a factor to consider when purchasing a product. These are excuses at best. We still haven't answered why we see the very particular arrangement of white women with black men time and time again. I don't believe for a second that interracial advertising under the guise of diversity is about selling clothes or laundry detergent or cereal. It's propaganda through and through, the purpose of which is to present a distorted worldview, to humiliate, to mock, and to make complacent. White men are the last vanguard against this occupation of a hostile elite. White women are displayed with non-white men not to sell items, but as a tactic of psychological warfare against our civilization. Very rarely anymore are white men portrayed in a favorable light. They're often the overweight, goofy, clumsy halfwit that relies on women and non-whites to save the day. From films to television to advertisements, this is an increasingly common anti-white canard. The increasing acceptance of interracial relationships over the last 70 years has not been a function of anything other than increased propaganda efforts. The outcomes are socially and individually undesirable. There is no good that comes from promoting white women to date and marry outside of their race. All of the data shows that it's a negative thing. What we're seeing is a systematic attack on white identity. We're seeing but one of many aspects of the war on whites becoming a creeping normality in the West. The psychological effects of advertising have been well documented. Advertising has the ability to make people choose an inferior product simply by manipulating the affective conditioning. Studies suggest that the average American is exposed to as many as 5,000 advertisements in a day. The American Psychological Association has concluded that there's a link between unhealthy food advertisements to childhood obesity, and a link between tobacco and alcohol advertisements to underage smoking and drinking. The APA found these effects to be so strong that they've called for strict regulations on advertisements that are marketed to children. The power of advertising is so strong, it has the ability to override central root processing and rationality, to sow subconscious discord, persuade us to make irresponsible decisions. Further, advertising has the power to condition us to be, quote, more accepting and to usher in social change. The prevalence of mixed-race couples and an increase of LGBT representation in advertisements has in no small way changed social perception. Although visceral reactions of disgust remain, outward social attitudes have become accepting of all forms of degeneracy and social decay.
Do white girls like black guys?
Yes! We love black guys!
I identify as black.
WhereWhitePeopleMeet.com was pretty self-explanatory, I guess, but it has infuriated plenty of people who say that site is racist.
So what's the danger? White people are not the only ones seeing constant images of white women with black men plastered across our landscapes. These images have an effect on blacks as well. They're being told by the film industry, TV, and advertising that it's not only natural but also common that white women like black men. I have no doubt that this imagery plays no small part in the increased rate of victimization white women face at the hands of non-white men. These advertisements send a clear message to black men, quote, white women desire you. This plays out in reality when black men, despite being conditioned by advertising to believe white women desire them, are rejected by most white women they approach in reality. They often become angry and lash out at the women, believing they are, quote, taking what's theirs. Nearly 100% of interracial rapes are white women being raped by non-white men. These advertising images, which have no small part in warping mentality, not only promote a dysgenic society, they place our people in grave danger. So who's behind it? The most recent and perhaps belligerent example of anti-white propaganda came from Netflix via a set of 3 commercials for the company. The series of the 3 commercials is titled The Couple, which features a white woman and a black man. The commercial, Open Relationship, from the series depicts 2 couples, an interracial couple and a white couple, where the white man is depicted as small, weak, insecure, unprogressive, and closed-minded. His white girlfriend quickly decides to cast him aside to spend the evening with the interracial couple, as the black man quite literally steals the man's girlfriend in front of him, humiliating him. This is a commercial, keep in mind, with the alleged intent to encourage people to subscribe to Netflix, which is complete bullshit. it came to my attention that this commercial was not a result of white ethnomasochism, but perhaps something far more disquieting. HLG Studios out of Los Angeles was behind the production of the 3 commercials. HLG has worked on advertising campaigns for a myriad of national brands, from fast food chains to banks, technology companies, and clothing retailers. HLG Studios was founded by Yuri Baranovsky, the same man who directed Netflix race-mixing anti-white propaganda pieces. Baranovsky is Jewish. This revelation piqued my interest and sent me down a bit of a rabbit hole in the advertising industry. I quickly found that the marketing industry is very much like the media industry. Just 4 mega corporations control the vast majority of all advertising agencies. The Omnicom Group of New York, WPP of London, Publicis of Paris, and Interpublic of New York are the key corporations in the West. Dentsu of Tokyo is the next largest group and 5th globally. The New York Times states that these companies are so powerful that they can indirectly set network television schedules and starve magazines to death or help them to flourish by deciding how and when to spend advertising dollars. Each company owns dozens, if not hundreds, of smaller agencies. Omnicom has bought over 150 firms alone. CEO John Wren, of Irish descent, currently heads Omnicom Group. Omnicom was founded by Alan Rosenstein, Keith Reinhardt, and John Bernbach, all 3 Jewish. Long-standing CEO of Publicis from 1987 to 2017 has been Maurice Levy, who cited his rabbi grandfather as his greatest inspiration. Levy has been honored by the Anti-Defamation League, which censors YouTube, for his work fighting
Shocking. Just shocking, huh?
Semitism and his relentless promotion of, quote, diversity. WPP of London was founded and is currently run by Martin Sorrell, of Jewish descent. Chairman and CEO of Interpublic Group is Michael Izor Roth, and while I found no mention of his ethnicity, Roth did, however, condemn the, quote, white supremacist ideology at Charlottesville and found the whole event to be, quote, deeply disturbing, as he wrote in an internal memo to 50,000 IPG employees. Roth further wrote that the actions cannot be tolerated, and that, of course, diversity is an American value. And finally, he suggested that the events at Charlottesville are not political issues, but, quote, an issue of basic humanity and standing up for what is right. And I agree with the sentiments of Roth. This whole movement really isn't political in many ways. This is about basic humanity and fighting for what is right. It just so happens that some of us do not see our cultural genocide and dispossession as an issue beyond basic humanity. We have the right to exist, whether Roth and his ilk like it or not. Looking at all this information, I believed I was onto something. There seems to be, yet again, just as in the financial industry, the fake news industry, the entertainment industry, the porn industry, a disproportionate number of Jews and those with Jewish sympathies involved in advertising. From small startup firms to multi-billion-dollar corporations, all of which are promoting hostile anti-white canards while praising diversity and inclusion. I'm sure it's just another coincidence, right? If you wanted to destroy a civilization, how would you go about it? Let's think about it. If you wanted to create dysgenic chaos in a society, what would be your weapon? To destroy our civilization, you would want to start by destroying one of the cornerstones of our culture, the nuclear family. And what better way to destroy the white nuclear family than to encourage white people, especially white women, to mate with foreign men that are unlikely to support them or raise their children? If you wanted to create a chaotic society that's easy to lord over, you would ensure that the children are raised by the state, the women are dependent upon the state, and that the men were marginalized and seen as social pariahs by their own people. What better way to destroy a people than to promote a relationship that can never produce white children and that is by nature dysgenic? The media, the press, and advertisers have created a culture of anti-white hatred. These companies are not simply promoting diversity and trying to appeal to a wider range of consumers. They're promoting the increased abuse of white women. They're promoting heightened rates of communicable diseases amongst our people. They're promoting a generation of poor, fatherless children where our tax dollars will be funneled. They're not just trying to sell products. They're trying to recreate a nation, our nation, without us. They're saying they do not want white children to be made. They're telling white men that they have no place in society. And that's where we come in. We need to stand guard with unwavering and watchful eyes and shine a light on the constant barrage of attacks. Every single time I come across an advertisement that highlights diversity in an absurd way or promotes miscegenation, I make it a point to share it online with my friends and family. I personally take note of companies that insist on promoting miscegenation and do not spend my money with them. If they want a diverse consumer, they can have them. When the hostile elite sends a message that young white men have no place in society, it's our job to be there for them, to give them a place and, more importantly, a purpose. The future of our civilization, the future of our people, is only being offered by one group, and that's us. We are in many ways the last vanguard against the system that would greatly prefer our extinction. Every film that has a hostile anti-white message should be reviewed, critiqued, and dissected by those of us writing articles, making videos, and creating podcasts. We have the intellectual ability to develop our own critiques, to be the warriors against this cultural insurrection, and to let the current occupation know that they can write us out of their silly commercials, awful sitcoms, degenerate films, and miscegenation-promoting magazine ads. But that's all they'll be able to accomplish. And one last thing. As for Dentsu, the Japanese advertising giant, their entire history of executives has been Japanese. Every July, new employees and newly promoted executives of the company travel to Mount Fuji to climb the mountain together, a company tradition dating back to the 1920s. Somewhere in this story of race-mixing propaganda amid the throes of degeneracy, there's a profound lesson to be learned from the Japanese. Although they're not without fault, Detsu has a reputation of overworking their employees. There's something to be admired about a group of people honoring tradition, country, nature, nation, and each other. And for us, we have our own Mount Fuji ahead of us, rising with the dawn and reaching towards the sky, waiting to be conquered. In a hostile environment that would much prefer we lie down and accept fate, their manufactured fate. I submit instead that we pull each other up that mountain, as we always have.
The rest of it just seems like a long outro. So, well, it's not a lot to say about it. Obviously, we know where the source is. What are you going to do about it? Stop buying the products that do it. That was the point I made in the last video I recorded on this subject. Stop buying from them. Stop supporting them and make sure everyone else does. It's the only way, because people still run out there and now they think if they buy Doritos, they're going to be woke and they're on the team. And, that's how it works. Where would this society be without white men? Who would have built it? Who would have discovered everything? I know. They were kings. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, Anonymous, for the contribution and clip. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you like me to cover, something you want to expose, you like to set up a Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, you like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help who can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general. You keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with either the Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, and email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. Also, be sure to subscribe to both my channels on Rumble. If you haven't watched the video over there, please do. Even a click helps. Follow me on TikTok, X, and Telegram as well. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Societal Narcissism. Take care, everyone.